Good evening, Jason.
Well, good evening, Stephen. How are you?
I'm fine. All right, have you moved on, or are you still focusing on the historic nature, 1978, of the Green Bay Packers win over the Colts?
No, I've moved on, and so have the Packers, and so has Matt LaFleur. I need to track down the full audio clip of me asking him yesterday about this. But the NFL, I used this in a story for the State Journal, and I mentioned this to Gabe and Chewy this morning. Like, the NFL has the 24-hour rule, and when LaFleur talked yesterday, it was shortly after 3 o'clock, and the game had ended at like 2:55 on Sunday. So the 24-hour rule had expired. So there was no living off the awesomeness of that game plan and the execution of it. It was, hey, it's over. Now you got to figure out what the heck you're going to do against the Titans. And that's basically what I said to LaFleur. Great job. Now what? And I think that is how he has to, and his coaching staff has to look at it too. They don't have a lot of time for a victory lap. You're right. It was historic. Like, not only the number of carries that their backs and Malik Willis had, but more importantly, the production and the effectiveness of a game plan when everyone in the building knew they wanted to run the football, including the Indianapolis Colts and defensive coordinator Gus Bradley. And it was almost as if during that first half they were absolutely powerless to do anything about it. And that is when a great game plan meets great execution. And that's what happened, but it's over. And frankly, this is an even greater test because now all that motion and fakes and misdirection, that's all on film now. So now what are you going to do for an encore? Because the Titans are sitting there. I mean, they've got a head coach in Brian Callahan who got after Will Levis with a "what the blank are you doing?"
I saw that. Yes.
And "you're better than that." Basically, get your what together. And so he's getting up in front of the room with that team going, there is no blanket way we are allowing these guys to run for 261 yards against us. If we shut their run game down, we don't think Malik can beat us. That's why we traded him, right? I mean, that's the kind of motivational speech that's going to be given on Wednesday when the Titans players reconvene at their facility.
Yeah, well, no, Packers can just do it again, try it again. Whatever motion you did, how much apart that was, you just change that stuff.
Well, you can certainly try to change it. But it doesn't mean that making adjustments to it or reusing some of it, repurposing some of it won't work. But it also means it doesn't necessarily mean it will work, right? Like it very rarely, even the great offensive, defensive coaches, even the great ones, aren't able to put together a game plan that works to the degree that did. Like, that is very rare to have something work that brilliantly. And do not make a mistake on this. It was exquisite and was well executed, and they deserve. I'm not saying they don't deserve all the praise that I gave them and many others did. They do, but they will be the ones who tell you, "Hey, all right, that was great. It's over," and we don't know how much of this will work against Tennessee, which, by the way, Tennessee's 0-2. They lost both games by scores of 24-17. They had punts blocked in each of the two games. Like, they could just as easily be 2-0, and their defense is no slouch. So I would be very surprised if the Packers are able to replicate or approximate what they did running the football, and that means that Malik Willis is going to have to do more than he was asked to do on Sunday. And when they ask him to do more, will he be up to the task if he starts? Because we still have to leave at least room for the possibility that it's Jordan Love on Sunday.
That was going to be my follow-up question because you nailed it this last week, and I don't know if you have any early thoughts. I certainly don't believe in waiting because you should wait. No, if he can play, play. But what are your...
Yeah,
if
look,
he was
I
that
don't.
close, if they were legit and honest in saying he was that close, then he should be playing this week, right?
Yeah, again, I don't know. I have not talked to Jordan. I have talked to other people, but I have not talked to Jordan. Now, I do think that Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre before him, when they had their most troublesome leg injuries, right? Like Favre had the one ankle injury where his ankle was purple and he couldn't walk. He had another injury in like 2000 or 2001 where he had a similar issue. Obviously, we know in Rodgers' case, he had the shoulder injury that he was able to play through as a first-year starter in 2008, and he had to go down to the Hudson Center and prove to Doc that he could throw the football even with the pain he was in, and ibuprofen because he wouldn't take a pain-killing shot in his throwing shoulder. But when he had the calf injury in 2014, when he had the broken the tibial plateau fracture in his knee in 2018, and an MCL, I believe, with that injury, he had the ability and he had enough experience to be able to say, no, I'm playing through this. And he convinced Doc to let him do so. I don't think Jordan, with only 1 year plus one game as a starter, I mean, he started 20 games that counted in his NFL career. I don't think he has enough of that. So whether it's him, whether it's his agents, whether it's the medical staff, whether it's LaFleur, I don't know. But I do think that there are probably people who are trying to give him protect you from yourself advice. My personal understanding, and again, Rob has more information than I do on this one, but my personal understanding was he was out for the Colts, out for the Titans, maybe for the Vikings, and I don't want to go so far as to say probably for the Rams, but much more likely for the Rams. That was kind of the spectrum. No on the Titans for sure, and what I had been told was no on the Colts for sure, and what I had been told was no on the Titans too. So, and I want to add one other thing. LaFleur did say yesterday when we were talking about Love and the idea of him playing, he was trying to duck everything by saying he hadn't talked to the medical staff. But I asked him a very narrow question of, regardless of what the medical staff thinks, are you going to take the same approach to practice all week long of Malik getting the reps, and then if Jordan is ready on Sunday, even though he didn't get reps in practice, playing him? And LaFleur made a very clear point that he believes that because it would be 2 full weeks, that Jordan would need to practice in order to play on Sunday. And whether he practices tomorrow or Thursday or Friday, we'll have to wait and see.
Well, based on that, he'd certainly have to practice by Thursday. When he mentions 2 weeks, you can't just then practice one day and be okay, right?
Well, maybe. I mean, again, he wasn't very specific. That was the most useful information on the Jordan Love front that we actually achieved from yesterday's press conference. He was good on some other stuff, but the fact that he intentionally avoided the medical staff so that way he didn't have to lie to us, and he could just say, I didn't talk to them. I'm not a huge fan of that approach personally, but it worked yesterday at least for him.
Well, he could use it all week if he wants. I mean, based on what you said, he's not going to play. And whatever somebody told somebody, then that couldn't have been the case, given the scenario that you present.
No. In fair, I know how good Rob is.
All right.
And so do you. And so I have no doubt that what he told 𝙃𝙊𝙈𝙀𝙍 yesterday about how this wasn't a charade, I have no doubt that whoever he talked to was one of the people that believed he could play. Now, I don't know if that's Jordan. I don't know who that is, but he wouldn't suggest that if there wasn't a legitimate person on the inside who either felt like he could play or felt like he should play. And that doesn't mean that everybody thinks he should play. And I think that's probably where it gets a little murkier.
All right, I'm in your camp. You didn't ask me to join your camp. I don't even know that you created a camp, but
I love a good camp.
I now believe that he is, based on your information, that he is not going to play against the Tennessee Titans.